again, we have a blueprint. Like we have the playbook. We have the blockers. All we have to do is give you the ball, and you just got to freaking run, dude. That's it. Don't look back. Just start running. Forrest Gump style, right? You just felt like running, and just keep on it going. And
And welcome back to Podcast on Wheels. I'm your host, Brian Smith. And today, virtually, we have a guy that I've known for many years and have gotten the opportunity to work with him again. So we wanted to get him back for his second appearance on the show, update you on where he's at, how life is going, and this opportunity that he has for a lot of people. Brian Holden, welcome back to Podcast on Wheels.
thanks for having me, bud. It's been a while.
It has, man. It has. And guys, I know that you watch this show, you enjoy the show. Brian Holden's a guy that was in one of our first 10 episodes. I've known him for 3 or 4 years. He's helped me so much with the insurance world and explaining things, teaching things, guiding me along the way. So, B, you guys started from scratch in insurance. So what was the real story about the health insurance? How did that come about for you?
Well, I sold life insurance for about 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, and I started out going door to door. I didn't know any better, and so I thought that's just how you did things. And then after a few months, I was like, "Dude, this makes no sense. Like, if I'm calling to book appointments over the phone, why can we not just talk about it over the phone?" And my upline would always say, "Well, that's not how we do it. You got to go in." I was driving, I live in Chattanooga, so I was driving to Knoxville or to Nashville or to Asheville, or and those are 2-3 hour drives one way. And a lot of times just getting no showed because that's the nature of final expense. So after about 2 years, I just got really burnt out, and I was like, well, we're going to take a leap and make this happen virtually. And I did pretty well selling virtually, but the reason I got out of life insurance was because I don't like talking about death. I mentally do not do well with death at all. And so it just burned me out. I don't like saying, Brian, what are you going to do to pay for the house when Courtney dies? And it's like, whoa, like what a like heavy thing to throw at somebody.
Yeah.
And I just didn't like it. I feel like it's using death as a power tool, I guess. And I just got burnt out. And so I was going to get out of insurance. I didn't know what I was going to do, but then I got introduced to health insurance, in particular private health insurance. And for those that don't know the difference, Obamacare slash ACA marketplace, that's what people are used to and what our wonderful government tells us to have. And so that's what most people have because it's the easiest thing. You do not have to deal with it. The problem is those plans are based on your gross income. And as a business owner or somebody who's self employed, anything that has to do with your gross income is not going to work out in your favor, right? And so that's why I was attracted to private health insurance because without getting political, it makes more sense for your health insurance to be based on your health, not your income. And in particular, there's this saying that niches create riches. When we target people that are self employed or 1099, that is the ideal client because they're healthy. This is a mass generalization, but people who usually run their own business are healthy and obviously wealthier because they have a high gross income. So Obamacare doesn't work out in their favor. Now, I'm 30 years old. Knock on wood, I don't ever go to the doctor, but for me to have an Obamacare plan is $1,000 a month. I would just rather not have insurance than pay 12 grand a year for something I don't ever use. Long-winded answer. That's how I got into health insurance because it's a much easier conversation. You're not talking about death. You're talking about using something that people use in their day to day, right? And so since we're talking to healthy people, the policies are a lot stickier because they're healthy. They don't ever use the insurance to begin with. I tell my clients, this is for your oh shits, your oh no's, and your preventatives. And they're like, that's exactly what I need. I'm like, great. What's your routing and account number? We'll get it set up.
Exactly. And it is that simple, B. And that's one thing that you and I and the other people on the team and the people who are aware of it know that it is a great product because not only does it provide for those oh shit, oh no's, and it allows a business owner to budget and it allows a business owner to understand and grow their business because here recently we've found more businesses that are losing employees because they can't offer them the benefits. And now with a guy like you can come in and say, hey, we can structure this in different ways. So for a small business owner, that has some employees and they're trying to decide or they're losing. We had a mechanic shop, for example. He couldn't keep a good mechanic because he didn't offer insurance. And then when we showed him for what it would cost, that opened some doors for him. So what's a story like that for you with a small business owner or people getting started in the business world?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the biggest thing is obviously health because you have to qualify. And I talk to a lot of truckers, for instance, because truckers have a high gross income, but notoriously, truckers also have health issues because they're sitting still all day long. And so that is one of my niche markets in particular, is people in the transportation and logistics community. But it's also a little bit harder because of the health issues, right? But for instance, I talked to a guy, I'm not going to mention the state because I'm going to steal my state, but he was paying about $32,000 a year for his health insurance. And he was like, dude, I go to the doctor maybe once a year and I have to use it in the state that I live in because I have Obamacare. And I was like, well, let me show you this. And I showed it to him, and we ended up saving him like $17,000 a year, something crazy. And, the biggest objection in health insurance I've found is people saying, that sounds too good to be true. And that's a really weird objection in sales because how do you answer that? And then I mean, I take a lot of time to explain everything to people in the nitty gritty so they understand what they're getting, why they're getting it, who they're getting it with, when it works, how it works. Because I also tell my clients this: I don't get paid if you buy it, I get paid if you keep it. And I just feel like my transparency in those conversations builds a lot of trust because I have a terrible mouth for those that don't know me. And I cuss when I'm talking to my clients, not like all the time, but I throw cuss words out there because it catches them off guard and it helps them realize I'm a normal person. And so, going to answering to your question, I kind of get up on these rants, but people think that Obamacare is their only option, and it's because people hate dealing with health insurance. It's confusing, it's expensive. You can't live with it, but you can't live without it, right? And so you just do it to get it out of the way. But just like most other things in life, if you take 5 minutes to find a better answer, usually you can. And that's where I come in because, we run ads and buy leads and all this other stuff. And I think the benefit of that is that you don't have to go out and pound the pavement. I don't want to go door to door to businesses. That's not efficient. The name of the game for me is efficiency and productivity. Well, that comes at a cost. So if I can pay the convenience fee of having leads, then I can learn my numbers. And if I learn my numbers, then sales is just a numbers game, right? And at that point, once I know my percentages, all I have to do is increase, and then numbers go up across the board.
Yep. And it really is that simple. And, every time I try to come up with something new, I think you tell me just to run the ball. But, there's one thing to selling a pot. There it is. Run the damn ball. And if you don't know what that means, then you're probably not watching this show. All right. So if you sell somebody a policy, but be one thing that you're good at and bringing up agents and leading with a purpose. I know you, but for the people at home, if they wanted to work with your team, like, what are some things you do for the agents? What are some things that you have? Is there calls? Is there support? How would that work if somebody wanted to work with you?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I think the biggest benefit of working with me or our team in particular is the brokerage we work for, which is USA Benefits Group. You can see it on my shirt. But USA Benefits Group has been around for 37 years. It's a really long time. And they have an A+ rating with the BBB, which is really hard to get because everybody hates insurance people, right? And USA BG has not had one single complaint in the last 37 years. So when talking to clients, that goes a really long way. That builds me a lot of credibility. And with new agents, and as far as resources go, we have something called a signature agent platform. It's $50 a month. Anybody that sells insurance knows you have to have errors and omissions insurance in case somebody doesn't answer a question correctly and they try to sue you, right? So in exchange for that $50 a month, we provide your errors and emissions insurance, which is usually about $30. You also get a corporate website, which gives you that A+ rating, shows that the brokerage has been around for 37 years. You get a corporate email address, which is a lot more official than Brian Holden Insurance at Gmail, right? Now, there's a lot of credibility there. But the biggest thing for me is the training and the USABG books. So with the training, you can go into the training and you can search ACA. Anything ACA you want to know is listed out right there. You want to learn about Medicare. Anything about Medicare is in the back office. USABG is the second largest brokerage in the country. We have access to over 80 different carriers. So we sell life insurance. Pre-comp for life insurance, by the way, is 110%. A lot of these other three-letter IMOs that were me and you originally met start people at 80%. If I can give you 30% more income from the jump, it should be a done deal. But then we sell health insurance. We sell marketplace insurance, the Obamacare, which I don't like unless you're really sick or really broke. For some people, that's the right fit. We do our private insurance. But then we also do senior insurance, your Med Sup, your Med Advantage, your standard Medicare, the whole nine yards. And so for a new agent to come in that just goes to sell final expense insurance, it's like a carpenter that can only build stairs. Doesn't make any sense, right? If you're going to get into carpentry, you need to learn how to do everything. And so that's the benefit of working with us is that I may not know how to do the Medicare or whatever else, but I can show you how to do it. And I think that's the biggest benefit of working with us and me in particular is that I'm going to be honest with you. I'm never going to give you an elusive answer or incorrect number, aggressive sales numbers. Now, I always try to tell new agents coming in, hey, this is what you can do. And I give them a very conservative number because I would rather them crush their goals than me sell you some pipe dream and, oh, you can come in and make $30,000 a month. No, you can't. Okay. You've never done this before. How the hell do you expect to do that? That's not
Right.
fair. It's not fair for me to tell you that. It's not fair for me because then you're looking at me like, hey, how do I do this? And I'm like, well, just buy leads and call them, right? The tale as old as time. I don't like that by any means. If I take the time to bring you on, same thing with my clients, I want you to know who, what, where, why, and how before we ever get going. The last thing I want is for my soldiers to go into the battlefield and say, hey, you know how to load this rifle? It's like, what? You're going to get run over really quick.
Yeah.
And so we really focus, me and Mike Curry, who's my upline, really focus on people knowing what the heck is going on before you ever get started. And I think that speaks volumes not only about USABG, but about our culture in particular, because we've all been shown how not to do this 2 times now, right? And so coming into this, these guys have been around for a long time. There's guys in this business at USABG that are making 8 figures, bro. That is
Mhm.
a lot of freaking money, and it takes time to get there. But when I first came into insurance, one of the first things I was told, cliches, they kind of go in one year and out the other. But when you hold on to them and kind of marinate on it, it makes a lot of sense. And he told me the people that do the best in this business are the ones that last the longest. And at first thought, it's like, well, duh. But
Right.
it's really hard to stick it out for that first year, when you're not having any renewals. But it's like a good commission example, without getting too particular here, if you're buying 20 leads a week and it costs you $350, if you close 10% of those leads, you're going to make about $2,000 a week. That's pretty good. That's 100 grand a year, my man. And you're brand new. So what do you think's going to happen after that first 6 months is up and you start to get some of your back end money? Or month 13 when your renewals start? Or you just get better at the job, right? Then your income really starts to flow. And I've come a long way from this. When I started this job, without me getting emotional here, I had $300 to my name. The girl I was dating for 6 months, we just found out we had a baby on. That's about the biggest oh shit moment you can run into. And I would just take my colleagues' old leads and go knock on doors, 2 hours from home. But I'm a huge Kobe fan, right? And I may not be the biggest, the fastest, or the strongest, but you're not going to outwork me, especially if I know the play. You run the damn ball, bro, right? Every single time. And with that saying, I love it so much because you don't have to get cute. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to throw a 60-yard double screen pass. It doesn't make any sense. Just run it up the middle every single time because there's a blueprint there. And it's going to be hard and it's going to suck. But the good thing is you're not going to get any worse than you are when you first begin. You have to get better. And if you just hold on after a year or so, it's like, wow, things are really starting to take off. And that's how it's been for me. I'm really hard on myself a lot of the time. And Mike just told me yesterday I was promoted to region manager, which is awesome. But it doesn't do it for me. I want more. I want to beat everybody. And that's why I like insurance is because it's really good for athletes, people like you, because I'm not gonna say you're getting old, but you're older and you're not physically able to do the things you were before. But sales gives you that same competitive dopamine hit, right? I love winning, bro. I hate losing. And that's why I like sales. And that's why me and you get along so well because
Mhm.
we hate losing. And I like sales because of that. Ultimate accountability is a really hard pill for some people to swallow. It was for me because I'm a really emotional person and used to let my emotions run my business, which was probably the first and hardest lesson I ever had to learn. But when you can take the emotion out of the roller coaster of this, it becomes a lot more fun. And then you learn your numbers. And like I said earlier, you just increase them. And before you know it, you're doing really well.
Yeah. And, guys, just to reaffirm, you know, we all kind of have an idea of what each other makes. And Brian said, when you look at his team, he's going to be conservative with the numbers. He's going to tell you the truth. And I can tell you that my guesstimations of what he made one of the years was a little bit higher than what you actually told me. And I was trying to be conservative. You've always shared real numbers. You've always given me real information. And you're right too to say, yes, I have personal friends that make 30, 40, $50,000 a month or more in insurance, but they've been doing it for 15, 20 years. They've stayed with it. So, this new opportunity, this thing that you've stepped out to find something better, not just for you, but your clients and your business. And as you grow this team, like you said, regional manager, it's not enough for you. So what does legacy look like for you professionally, personally? Just kind of give us an overview. Like what's the Holden legacy? What are we doing here?
Personally, I think it's being completely debt free, mortgage, cars, whatever. We just bought 17 acres this past spring, and we have a big mortgage. It sucks every month, but I like it because I, I'm pretty traditional. I like to hunt and farm and fish and chickens and all this stuff, and that helps me. But legacy wise, I want to be free and clear by the time I'm 40, which is about 9 years from now. And at that point, I want to continue to build my wealth where I can have properties. So that way, when Ivy, my daughter, and my son, who will be born next month, won't have to want for things. I grew up with a single mom. She owned her own business and she had two kids. We grew up on instant mashed potatoes and a can of peas. Still, one of my favorite dinners is mac and cheese and hot dogs, right? Like, you don't forget where you come from because you don't look at how far you have left to go, but how far you've come, right?
Right.
And for me, that's what it means. I want to be able to take care of my mama. And I want to do the things to where I don't have to worry about it. I want to be able to take my daughter to the store and she says, I want this. And sure, whatever.
Right.
Same thing
Right.
with my wife and everything else. But it's not all about money. I think if you chase money, you're never going to have enough of it. And I've learned that lesson now that I've actually made some money. And it just doesn't do it. But professionally, I just want to help people, man. I feel like my calling in this world is to leave light. And the same thing as growth. It's a yes or no answer. Whether you grow by an inch or a mile, did you get better today? Yes or no. The same thing with light. Did you leave this situation, even if it's just a little bit? Did you leave it a little bit better than you found it? Yes or no. And if I can do that, and it's not going to happen in every situation, but as many as I can that I can influence, then I feel like I'm doing my job professionally. If I can bring people in, especially dads or parents, younger guys that want something more, I know how it feels to not have a pot to piss in. But I also know how it feels to be able to go on international carrier trips and buy Louis V in Italy type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. But it's everybody's running their own race. And I think what defines a good leader is understanding that flowers bloom at different times. You can't compare your chapter 1 to my chapter 6. Again, 'cause that's not fair to you and it's not fair to me. I've gone through a lot that you will hopefully not have to go through because that's my job as a leader to shorten that learning curve. And so professionally, I just want to help people get to where they want to be and not hold each person to the same standard because we're all running different races.
Yeah, there's a lot that I hear when you talk about that particularly because what I want the young guys and I say guys is in all of you understand that what he's saying is he's doing the insurance to be able to do what he wants to do, and it's going to provide the capital and the opportunity. And insurance is not something that you're going to have to quit doing at 40 because it's going to still be there. And the renewal piece, that's something that I think a lot of people, when they get into insurance, they don't understand that you can get into this, you can get into life. Now, I've never seen a life policy renew. Usually they expire. But for health insurance, tell us a little bit about that because that's a thing that when I first got into health insurance, I was like, renewal, how does that work? So you were talking about a six-figure income, et cetera. You can build this business and inevitably turn it into rental properties and whatever else you want to do. So how does that work, the renewals thing?
Yeah. So, for instance, one of our carriers will pay you 20% of the premium. So, for a family plan, it's $1,000 a month. So, 20% is $200. It'll pay you that same $200 a month for as long as the client has the policy. And there's no chargebacks because it's paid as earned. The
Right.
biggest issue people have coming into insurance is chargebacks. So, you're not going to get that same upfront lump sum, but it's consistent. If you can make $200 a month for, I'm awful at math, 2 years, that's $2,400. That's a lot of money. But see, if you have 10 of those people, if you have 10 people and you're getting $200 a month, that's $2,400 a month of income. Passive. You're not doing anything. Build that up. You have 50 people. Dude, you're making 100 grand a year off stuff you've done in the past.
Mhm.
You could be like Mason Wilson. Mason Wilson has about 50 of them on the books. And he's 28, young bachelor dude. He spent the whole month of February out on the ski slopes because he knew he made his 10 grand for the month, whether he worked or not.
Mhm.
That's crazy. If
Mhm.
you can make 10 grand a month not doing anything, I don't know why you would not do whatever it takes to get to that. And that's why I think the renewals in this are so powerful because people just don't understand the gravity of it. I make about 5 figures a month passive income at this point. That's pretty solid. So now I know whether I work or not, my bills are going to be paid. That relieves a lot of pressure, especially for young dads. That's my target demographic for recruiting. Well, and moms, but in particular dads, because dads, again, mass generalization carry a lot of that pressure for present dads at least. And we are providers. And we're not out hunting woolly mammoths with spears. We're calling people for freaking insurance. It's not that hard.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I mean, if you can talk, you can do this. But yeah, man, it's always fun getting to talk to you. So let's have a little fun here towards the back end of this show. You talked a little bit about your property. Most of these people may or may not have seen it if they're on your social media, but tell us about it because when you first bought it, I'm thinking, what's he gonna do? And then you started having the pictures, and I think you got a four-wheeler and maybe a truck and a boat and like. Tell us about that property, man, because I'm impressed and I want people to see, hey, just how many years ago did you start an insurance, B? What year was it?
Into 2020.
Okay, so in 5 years, 5 years, that's it. Tell us about your property. Tell us about the fun you guys get to have. The first deer you got. I don't know. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, so we're 5 minutes south of Chattanooga, Tennessee, in the great state of Georgia. I live near the Chickamauga Battlefield, so it's a big national park. But we live right on the West Chickamauga Creek. We got 17 acres out here. We live on the creek, and there's fish out there. We have a pond. We have a pool. But it's just a lot of space. And so since then, I built a chicken coop. We've got about 17. And so this kind of side note, I follow this page on Facebook called Dole Dads, and my dull dad thing is that I count how many eggs we've had since when they first started. So they started laying eggs in September. They've laid about 1,250 eggs
Wow.
in 6 months. That's a lot of money in eggs, dude. Yeah, but I love that. So we've got 17 chickens, we've got 2 goats, we've got 6 dogs, or sorry, 6 ducks and 3 dogs.
Okay.
But like I said, I'm pretty traditional in some ways. We have a garden and we grow our own vegetables. I got into hunting and harvesting my own meat probably 2 or 3 years ago. So this past winter, I harvested 5 deer, and my daughter Ivy helped me process those deer in the backyard. because it's important for kids to know that stuff, right? And so, we showed her the full deer and cut it down, and hey, this is a steak, and she's like, "Wow, Dad, this is so cool." And like, I say, "Ivy, what do we do whenever we see a deer?" She says, "Shoot it, Daddy." But stuff like that's so fun, and the turkey season starts this weekend. Now I've been seeing a bunch of turkeys. I can see my food plot from my office, and so I get to kind of watch things throughout the day. But our house is a really big blessing, especially for now. I have a picture of a grocery list from when me and Hannah first started dating about this time 5 years ago, and it said bread, Cheetos, and three question marks. That's it, because we couldn't afford anything else.
Yeah.
And it's hard 'cause I'm gonna start crying, bro, seriously, because it's been a long, hard road. But one of my favorite sayings is when the why is big enough, the what doesn't matter. And if all I have to do is buy people that are interested in what I'm selling, we're not selling vacuum cleaners. Everybody has to have health insurance. And if it just comes down to me being an effective communicator, okay, you watch sales trainings, right? You plug in, you listen to other people on the phone. You take what you don't like. I mean, you take what you do like, leave what you don't, you turn it into your own thing. That's why I'm good at this, is because I'm not a bullshitter. Like, it is what it is and it ain't what it ain't. And that's why agents.
I guess we're experiencing some technical difficulties. We'll see if we can get the Holden show back on. If we do have to end the show right now, guys, I do appreciate you guys watching. Brian Holden is a personal friend. We work together in the insurance industry. We will have a follow up part two, if you will, to this show. But if you've got some value from this show, we're going to get him back on here. There we go. There we go. All good.
Can. But same thing with the chickens and my animals and everything else. I take care of the deer, and in essence, the deer take care of me. It's just a circle of things. And anyways, everything kind of ties together, whether it's sales or shooting deer.
It
Same
does.
principle across the.
Yeah, it does. And that's, again, to unpack what you said, it's like you've got a really cool property, but it's in order to spend time with your family and teach them things that are important to you to be a great dad. And for you to do that is what people are going to hear. And that's what's going to draw people to want to work with you. You know, you're right. You're not full of crap. You tell people what it is. It is what it is. If this works for you, why wouldn't you do it? Like I've almost heard you say that on the phone. You're like, hey, this plan works. You want to do it? Let's go. And you're real with people. You've always been straightforward, B. So, I look at, as I said in the first show that we did, I was a little jealous of where you were at that point. And then after I understood and got to see what you do, have done, are doing, continue to do, there's not so much jealousy because I see what all went behind the scenes to get you here, and the decisions and the prayers and the conversations with like, how do I, and you've maintained the same person as the first time I heard you join a team call 4 years, I don't know when it was, to tell us about this, maybe a CRM, maybe it was something that you had because you were going, from knocking door to door to doing it this way. So you've been innovative. You've looked for ways to make things better. That's how I found you on Instagram. You've always said hilarious stuff like, hanging in there like a hair on a biscuit. And my wife gets a kick out of that because she's like, well, that's Holden, that's a Holden statement there. So, B, you've shared with us about the insurance. You've shared with us about your personal stuff. You've shared with us about some future stuff. If there's one quote, one statement, you've shared a few quotes, you've shared a few things. If you want to hold the hat up again and tell me one more time, I may need to see it. But, just what is there that you would want to kind of wrap up the show? If Brian Holden had 1 minute to just talk for a second, just to tell people, what would you say, brother?
Well, this is the hat. Run the damn ball. But this it sounds so simple and silly, but again, we have a blueprint. Like we have the playbook. We have the blockers. All we have to do is give you the ball, and you just got to freaking run, dude. That's it. Don't look back. Just start running. Forrest Gump stuff, right? You just felt like running, and just keep on it going. And one of my favorite quotes, also, this is the last thing I'll say, is people underestimate what they can do in 5 years and overestimate what they can do in 1 year. And I think that sums me up entirely, because you come into this business and it's like, well, like you said, I want to do what he's doing. Okay, well, it takes time.
Uh-huh.
You can't come in year one and say, I want to make 200 grand. Then I say, have you made 200 grand before? No. You made 100 grand before? No. How the hell do you expect to make 200 grand? You don't have the tool set, you don't have the mindset, and you don't have the knowledge, right? And so those things build on themselves. Okay, one last quote, I promise. There's a fortune cookie I had one time. Then it said, a ladder with many rungs is faster and easier to climb than a ladder with less. If you've never made 200 grand before, bro, let's just start with 50 grand. And then let's do 75 and then 100. And before you know it, you'll be at 250 or 300
Mhm.
because you started small and you snowballed that thing. And now you have some momentum behind you and some confidence, and you understand how it works, right? It's like you going to the gym or me going to the gym, 'cause you're a lot stronger than I am, and me saying, I want to bench press 300 pounds. It's like, get out of here. Can you bench press 100? And I'm like, well, it's like it takes time, and that's it, dude. You sow seeds. Let me look this up real quick. My favorite Bible verse. I want to make sure I read it to you correctly. It's Galatians 6:9. And let's see here. Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And it doesn't say if you don't give up in 6 months, you'll reap a harvest, right? It doesn't say in 6 weeks or 6 years. It just says in due time, if we do not give up in doing the right things, you will reap a harvest. I think that is the most perfect Bible verse that could ever go with this business. There is no set amount of time. It may take you 30 freaking years.
Mhm.
Good news is you got to get there. And I think that if we cling to that a little more and understand that we're sowing seeds and the income you're making now is based on what you've done in the past. And so, in order to increase that, you're going to have to work harder and make the same amount of money, but then it's going to catch up. And then you do it again, and then it's going to catch up. And if you keep doing that, again, you have to look at how far you've come, not how far you have left to go. And before you know it, we'll be on a carrier trip. Yeah, going to Canada this year. We won the trip to Athens, Greece, but I would rather jump out of the plane than fly 20 hours with a 3-year-old and a newborn. So
Amen.
that's
Amen.
why we're going to go to Canada, and it's great because we took Ivy to Aspen, Colorado last year. Me and Hannah got to go to Rome, Italy for a week the year before. People, that's a good way to get your spouse to believe in you with this job is taking them to Rome, Italy. Trust me.
Yeah.
Like, doing stuff like that, then Hannah's like, "You better get your ass to work." We like doing stuff. And
Yeah.
traveling's not the end goal for everybody, and I know you've got another one, so I'll let you go, but what we do in particular is not about making a bajillion dollars and wearing gold chains and driving Corvettes. It's about making the money to take care of your loved ones and do the things that you wanna do without having to worry about. And when you do that, things will work out in your favor and you'll grow. And, we're all Christians. Like we're a God fearing group, and I think for other people that is a good culture to be a part of. Because when we all work together and we're all have the same mindset, it just lifts everybody up as one. Next thing you know, we're all kicking ass,
Mhm.
and that's what I want, man. It's not a competition because we can all win. But if it is a competition, I'm gonna win. So just keep that in mind.
And I have seen him win many competitions, guys. He's a man of his word there too. You are. You are. Uh,
I
me,
appreciate you
man,
having me on here.
this has been an awesome show because the more that we can share about the product, the more that we can share about the blessings that you've had, the more that we can share. Brother, I've got a whole page of notes here, quotes and everything from this show because it's an opportunity for me to gain insight, to be better, to learn. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for joining us, brother.
Well, thank you for seeing me as worthy to be on here, and I appreciate it. And anything I can do to help other people get better, then again, leave in light, right? That's the name of the game. So hopefully this encourages somebody, and hopefully they'll join up with us and further their legacy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Brian, thanks again. And thank you guys for watching Podcast on Wheels.